Simpsons time? Run, don't walk, you might even hear Maggie talk. Bart the boy and a dog named Homer, and jokes written on signs at Simpsons time.
Welcome back to Every Cartoon Network Movie Reviewed, a series of videos covering every single animated film released by the network over the years. We all know that since its conception, Cartoon Network has managed to put out animated media of quality, whether through its original animated IPs or its outside imports like Toonami, and so I decided to cover each and every one of their animated films. A few rules before we begin. 1. I won't be covering any of the live action films made by the network, such as Reanimated or the live action Ben 10 films. Another thing to add is that I'll also be covering some of the WB animated adaptations in this series. With all that said, sit back, get comfy, and let's get on with Every Cartoon Network Movie Reviewed.
I guess there's only one thing left to say. Lucha!
What can be said about Mucha Lucha? Well, it was a WB series that focused on three masked wrestlers, Ricochet, Wonder Girl, and The Flea, as they lived their day-to-day lives while also going through the trials and tribulations of studying at the foremost world-renowned International School of Lucha. I personally remember watching the series reruns on Cartoon Network during the afternoons, and overall, just thinking it was fine. Not a great series, mind you, but a serviceable one. But with that said, when I saw that there was a Mucha Lucha movie, it did spark my curiosity for it, since I haven't seen the series in years. Now with my personal history with the series out of the way, let's put on our masks and jump right into Mucha Lucha, The Return of El Malefico. The film focuses on our protagonist Ricochet as he accidentally summons the magical luchador known as El Malefico, who sets his sights on becoming ruler of the world of light by absorbing the souls of every luchador on earth to become all-powerful. So the trio travel to Mexico City to find the three artifacts of Buenonas, the Cape of Courage, the Boots of Bravery, and the Tights of Tightness, and send El Malefico back to whence he came. After watching this film all these years later, I have to say it's really underwhelming. Like I mentioned before, it's not bad in any way. I was just expecting more of an adventure. Instead, we have every member of the trio going on their adventure to find a piece of the artifacts. It really takes away the feeling of this being a completely different entity from the series. But I will give it a few positives to be fair. For being a Flash animated movie in 2005, some of its scenes are surprisingly smooth and lively, and a lot of performances in the film do sound like the actors had a lot of fun recording. Especially El Malefico, who to my total surprise was voiced by legendary actor Tim Curry. All these aspects keep the film from being unenjoyable in my humble opinion. Apart from those, I don't think this is worth going out of your way to watch this, but if you do have some nostalgia for the series, then go ahead and give this film a look.
But I believe the book exists, and I know what I will write in those pages if I ever find it. 5 words only. I am Kids Next Door.
Now my standing on K&D is a lot different from Mucha Lucha. I was super into the series back when it was still on air, watching every episode when it came out, seeing the crossover they did with Billy and Mandy, and being a big fan of its made-for-TV movie released in 2006, Operation Z.E.R.O. This movie, when compared to the rest of the Kids Next Door series, has done something that its episodic counterpart has never attempted before. Put the main character in a situation where he can't win easily against the villain. This makes way to its unique storytelling, and I'm here to talk about it, so let's jump right in. The movie starts off a bit differently than normal, telling the story of how a kid found the book of K&D, took down grandfather, and formed the 6th generation of the K&D. The story then shifts its focus to our main character Nigel Uno, or Number 1. After an attack against both the K&D Museum and the Moon Base, Number 1 figures out that father plans on bringing back the most powerful of villains from the K&D universe, Grandfather, who turns the whole world into senior city zombies. Number 1 then figures out that he has to find the legendary Number 0 and defeat Grandfather alongside him. This cues one of the biggest surprises of the film, that being that Number 0 is actually Nigel's dad, and that the delightful children from down the lane are the missing members of Sector Z. So with a full team, they decide to put a plan into action where Number 0 holds off Grandfather, while Number 1 flies the moon base into Earth, where the two decommission Grandfather and Number 0. The film then ends with the recommissioning module broken, but Nigel figuring out that he can't have Number 0 back, since his biggest mission now is to be a good father to his son, ending the movie with 5 legendary words.
We are Kids Next Door.
The movie distances itself from its cinematic contemporaries by being a half of two types of storytelling. The first few minutes act as both the catalyst for the film and the origin of the generation of the K&D we view throughout the series. This, I feel, gives it something special about it, showing that there's more to its story. There's also surprisingly a deeper meaning I found within the film itself. Whereas most people view it as a silly animated film, I view it as a father trying to bond with his son, which in my opinion makes the film a lot more special than a typical series movie. Overall, with a great story, a threatening villain, and its charming cast, there's no doubt that this film is definitely a Cartoon Network staple. To help out with the production for this video, I've decided to get a few friends to help out in each part of this little series. This will become a reoccurring thing within the series, so with that said, I hope you enjoy it.
Pack your things. We're heading for Tokyo.
Sweet! We're going on vacation!
Hey ladies and jellyfish, it's Z.E.R.O here to talk about Teen Titans Trouble in Tokyo. Before I get into the movie, let me just give you some backstory. Around mid-June, I started binging Teen Titans for the first time, and finished a few weeks ago at the time of recording. I think the show is honestly one of the best action cartoons of all time, on par with shows like Ben 10 Alien Force and Spectacular Spider-Man. I love the art style and cartoony feel of some cutaway shots, and the voice acting and writing is all fantastic. My favorite episodes would probably be The Apprentice and the two-parter from Season 5, and I personally hold Season 1 as my favorite season. Anyway, after watching the whole series and loving it, I was hyped to hear they made an animated feature to end the show in 2007, and then I watched it. While I wouldn't call it straight up bad, it's definitely not good either. The story follows the Teen Titans going to Japan to follow Psycho Tech, a very dangerous criminal, and learning about the Brashomon legend. But after Psycho Tech is believed to die, the head of the Tokyo Troopers hunts the Titans down one by one, accusing them of murder. The plot sounds a bit not good to say the least. Watching the movie with some friends, we were all stuck on what the plot was and where it was really going in some scenes. And I think they really just wanted an excuse to include Japanese Easter eggs in the movie. But the real juice of the movie is the relationship between Robin and Starfire, as the movie really focuses on them for the most part. This also came with its own problems, as other Titans like Cyborg and Raven were completely ignored except for a few scenes that were super forgettable. I did like some scenes, like Robin and Starfire finally kissing, or Beast Boy singing the theme song in a club out of nowhere, but the impossible to follow plot really didn't add to the enjoyability of this film. While having a pretty tiny budget of only $5 million, you would still expect him to change up the art style from the show, but alas, it's pretty much the exact same as the show. I think the villains in this movie were revealed to be ink at the end, and to be honest, they were not memorable or interesting at all. Like, I seriously can't remember a single one of their powers or names, and I watched this like 3 days ago. I have to admit, the movie does get a lot better towards the end, as that's when the messy plot is finally wrapped up, and we get that cool moment between Robin and Starfire, but I still don't think that was really too interesting either. Look, don't get me wrong, I love the show to death, and I had really high hopes for this movie, but I think it would only get about a 5 out of 10 for me. Wait, does that mean Teen Titans Go to the Movies is better than this? Jokes aside, thanks to the magnificently bald geek for inviting me on his show, and please check out my videos if you haven't already. Ciao!
Out of all the Cartoon Network movies that have existed, none other have paraded the deadly and mystical subject matter more than the grim adventures of Billy and Mandy. I mean, in this very series we see multiple people die, get beheaded, and even get the brains drained out of their heads. But it does manage to have a heaping helping of charm that has managed to entertain a generation of fans throughout its run of 6 TV seasons, 2 movies, a special, and even a few shorts, inspiring a legion of fan art, fan comics, and really impressive cosplay. And so, it's with great nostalgia and excitement that I review one of its best films, Billy and Mandy's Big Boogey Adventure. The adventure starts off with Grim failing to reap General Scar, a recurring character in the series. As a result of this, he gets his scythe, title, and rank stripped from him because of his old nemesis, the Boogeyman, and is exiled. Whilst on a ship with Boogie and his crew as prisoners, they manage to escape and try to make it to the Isle of Horror to get Horror's hand. But Boogie makes it not too far after them, and so they race across the Cannibal Run to get the hand. The crew sails across the path, avoiding dangerous traps and cannon fire. The film ends with Boogie ending up scared of everything, and the gang putting away the hand in Grim's trunk.
Well, all's well that ends well. Not that anything ever really ends well. but I'm gonna call this one a victory.
Big Boogie Adventure is definitely evidence of how the series concept translates to film quite well. Its characters still radiate that same chemistry that the show had, with each and every one of their quirks that help keep the movie entertaining. I also really love the settings of the underworld. All of the locations scream a different brand of uniqueness, with different color palettes for each and every character, from the Isle of Horror to the courtroom. Overall, Big Boogie Adventure is a really fun-filled, enjoyable animated film that translates from TV to film in an ingenious way. It's a highly recommendable piece of Cartoon Network history that bears rewatching even to this day. Hey there, thanks for watching this video. Part 1 of this series got overwhelmingly positive reception, not only from regular subscribers but larger content creators as well. Thank you all so much to whoever liked, commented, and watched the first part. Your enjoyment and support gives me the motivation to keep making these videos. And before I end off this video, a few shoutouts. First is for my friend Z.E.R.O for being a legend and helping me with reviewing one of the films. His stuff will be left in the description down below. Another shoutout is for the artist Skumpkin for being nice enough to help out with the thumbnail art for this video. She's an extremely talented artist doing work for YouTuber Sergeant Ducky. She also does commission, so if you're looking for high quality artistry, go give her stuff a look. Anyways, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at GeekToons and join my Discord server to hang out with me and other cartoon fans. Have a great day, and I'll see you all in the next one.